Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Sun is up, coffee's in the cup, and we're ready to take on the day. What can we say? All right, so we're going to start this off. First and foremost, I kind of want to ask a very important question to kind of get into the Haley lore of how coffee happened for you.
Yeah.
Where did the journey / love for coffee kind of start for you?
Yeah, I think so. When I was younger, my parents and I, we'd walk around downtown, we'd walk around Old Town, that sort of stuff. And one day when I was probably around 8 or 9, we walked into this one coffee shop and they were pouring art in cups. And my parents were like, hey, just get what you want. And, of course I walk up, it's just little me. And I'm like, hey, what do you recommend? And they give me this little tea. And I just fell in love with it, just watching them move, sort of just drinking out of this little mug. I felt so official, and I was like, oh, this is such a cool moment. And it just really stuck in my head. And so
just kind of falling in love with the art of it. Watching somebody pour up a cup is the most beautiful thing. And you're like, why? I want to do that.
I want to do that. Yeah, exactly. And so basically a couple years down the line, I'm looking for a job sort of right after 2020. And I'm like, oh, just what environment do I feel like I'm going to fit in? So I worked in a restaurant for a little bit and I was like, okay, I love the hustle. And it taught me so much about being quick and speedy and learning how to mass produce while, maintaining that smile and all the customer service.
How to operate in chaos with
exactly.
a smile, for sure, yeah.
And so a couple weeks later, I'm like, okay, let's see if maybe I can find a coffee shop job. So find a coffee shop job. I worked there for a year and eventually get, good experience. We weren't doing quite latte art. I really wanted to dive in deeper. So I started looking for another job and then I found one where I was able to practice latte art. I was able to get into the art of dialing an espresso and really hone in my skill. And I was like, I think I really love this. And I just really grew from there. Worked there for about a year.
And that was the job prior to the job we worked together?
No, that was that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, we worked at a coffee shop together for about 2 years together. And first day I met Haley, we kind of started talking existential dread right away. And I was like, okay, this is a homie.
Yep.
We're sticking it together. And then we instantly kind of fell into this competitive type of friendship 100%. With I'm going to be better at latte art than you pretty much every single day and kind of holding it down and kind of having fun in the chaos of it all. So it was beautiful to get to meet you there and to kind of flourish in a very chaotic place, like a rose blooming in chaos. It was absolutely crazy, but I think it cultivated that love and that passion even more.
Yeah.
I think for some people being in that atmosphere obviously sort of took the passion away just a little bit.
Right.
But for us, I think it was more of a thing I want to do this even more, improve myself, and then even after this job, continue to do it. Yeah. Which is kind of where we find ourselves now. Yeah. With Knockbox and doing our own thing and kind of proving to the town of Fresno and just ourselves that, hey, this is what we want to do and this is what we're going to stay doing. Making each cup of coffee with the utmost of love and the utmost of expertise and passion and handing that off to people and showing people that regardless of whatever job we're in, this is what we're going to be doing. Right. And just kind of continuing to fuel that creativity in whatever we're doing. So it was awesome to kind of get to know you in that atmosphere and then kind of both us transfer into the next stage of our lives, which was our own next creative endeavor, which was Knockbox. So it was beautiful.
Yeah. I think it was a lot of fun. Again, baristing is sort of one of those things that you start off and you just feel like you're being dumped into it, right? And anyways, learning to get competitive is a lot of fun. And I think that baristing is a competitive thing in a way, or at least there's competition for sure. And so you want to be the best, you want to do the best latte art. You want to have the most on par bar. You want to have the cleanest bar, the best customer interaction. You know what I mean? You really want your art to pop or to be more personalized. You want to master all the styles. So I think it was so much fun getting to learn, but then also getting to learn with that competition that we were kind of talking about. And then I think eventually you hit this point where you sort of become your own competition too. Yeah. In the sense that you start almost challenging yourself every single day of
and looking back on pictures.
Yeah, looking back. When I started, I took a picture of the very first art I poured, And then I just kept going, taking photos and then getting to see the progress of that and that growth. I think it keeps you humble because you're learning like, oh, hey, like I'm actually making progress. And
this is a perfect segue. I wanted to ask you, like, what does that process of learning, not just latte art, but making coffee in general, like pulling espresso and different brew methods? I mean, for this one, we can kind of just focus on the espresso and the latte art, but you kind of briefly touched on it about, you know, just being competitive, having people around you that are better than you at first, and then slowly learning from them, and then getting to the level where you're just as good as them and then trying to beat them type of thing. But what did that process look like for you, and how frustrating was it when you couldn't get it right away?
Yeah. I think that's what's so funny is like, I feel like you were there the whole way for that with me. So I think I remember even coming up to you and being like, my latte art is just not good enough. Like, it's just not good enough. You're like, dude, it's good. Like, you're good. You know what I mean? And so we'd have like competitions and stuff like that. And that's like what encourages you to keep going. But overall, like, I just feel like it's being a barista and being in that career, you have to be motivated by growth. And you can't get stagnant. And I think that when that's your motivation and you're trying to excel in that way, I think you're going to find yourself in a nice, cozy spot, you know? But
like the biggest thing I think for learning is just repetition. And I think when you come in and you see other people doing it better than you, especially with the latte art, because that's 100%. Like the prettiest part of it. When you hand that off and like you have you watch customers compliment their art, you're like, fuck, like why can't I do that? And where's my compliment? You have I remember when I first started, I'd have customers come up and be like, oh, that's cute. And I'd be like, ooh, like that is not what I want to hear, you know? And it just motivated me to get even better in the space. And I think having that little competitive ego to you is very beneficial in it. And you start to be like, no, I'm going to beat every motherfucker in this place. Like, I'm going to be better than everybody. And I think having that sort of like attitude, obviously a healthy amount of it. Because you want people to like you still. But just kind of going into it with a understanding of it, like, I need to rep this out like over and over and over again. I remember like when we were just about to close, every single time I would pour up like 5 drinks and kind of compare the 5 and see which one was better. And I would do that just for days and days and days. Right before we were closing, I'd just pour up a line of 5. And eventually it got to a point where I felt very confident in the latte art. And I think latte art's one of those things where it doesn't have like an end destination.
No way.
You can always get better in it. And there's always somebody out there doing like a dragon or a seahorse. And you're over here doing rosettas and tulips, you know? So it's one of those things that I think the growth is endless. And I just think that repetition, if someone's out there and they have their home machine and you're wondering what to do, how to get better, buy a ton of milk, buy a ton of beans, and just run through it. Have your friends over, have your family over, and just make them coffee until they throw up. And just rep it out. Get a coffee shop job helps, but not everyone really wants to do that. So if you have a home machine, just rep it out and you'll get there. Another question I have for you is kind of more on an existential level. What do you want to be remembered for in your life?
I think above all else, I want to be remembered for loving people and sort of being that bridge for them, like a safe space. You know, and I think if that's my legacy, I think that'd be amazing, you know? I always want to be someone who people are comfortable around and just they're able to feel sort of like love. And so definitely that. I want to feel love. I definitely, you know, I credit God for that. And I hope that in all things people can see that through 100%. Me and that I'm able to display that to them. But for sure.
I think a simple legacy is a better legacy. I think people get too complicated with, I want to be remembered for this and that and blah, blah, blah. That's good, though. I definitely think that is something you are known for, is just radiating that positive energy and radiating that love. I think whenever customers come around you, it's very obvious that they feel comfortable with being there and having you be the one that serves them their drink. It's beautiful. I guess kind of flipping that question around onto myself, I think one thing I would want to be remembered for, and this gets a little troublesome sometimes because I know a lot of people might not like this about me, but it's that I push people around me to do better, to do more, to be more. Of course, like I said, it's gotten me in trouble many times because some people don't want to be pushed. But I just think that if there's one thing that I can add to people's lives is that, hey, we know you want to be up here. let me be an energy in your life that helps you get to that point, whether it's just me being hard on you or just giving you the love you need and the support you need type of thing, or even just when it comes down to like showing people how to do latte art and stuff like that, like just helping people be better in whatever they want to do. And that's kind of the like what I do to myself as well. I'm always trying to push myself to be better. So I would like to be remembered for pushing people. Yeah. Even in the bad sense as well, you know? Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think. I would say, like, at what point in sort of baristing were you like, yeah, no, this is what I want to do. This is where my heart is. At question. What point, were you feeling that?
It came long before I even got a job at a coffee shop. I think I had got my first machine when I was 17 and went through the whole process of learning coffee, which was very frustrating. And a lot of handing drinks off to my parents or even just my friends and them being like, oh, it's all right, type of thing. So frustration. I think the first moment I really realized like, oh, this is something that I want to keep forever is when I finally got latte art down and finally got like some recipes down for the house, and I handed off a drink to my dad, and he was just like, he's not a big coffee drinker at all. So like having his approval was something that was just beyond. And having him like look at the art and be like, you did this? And I was like, yeah, I did this. And he tasted it and he's like, you did this? And I was like, yeah. So it was just that like satisfaction of like knowing that I could create something through all the practice and through all the frustration and have that end goal be like a satisfied person, in this case, my dad. And today, in cases of like having just hundreds of customers come through to Knockbox and having each and every one of them be satisfied through it, that feeling of just having all that practice pay off to have someone smile and enjoy a drink that makes them more energized and maybe carries them throughout their day to do more things. That was the moment. So shout out Dad for for saying that. It was a big moment, and it was definitely a pivotal moment for me to see that like this is something that I want to keep in my life forever. Yeah. This is like a fun question. I know a lot of people kind of ask this all the time. It's like, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to being a barista? It can be on just a behind the bar type of situation or in front of the bar type of situation.
I would say as a barista, my biggest pet peeve is a dirty bar. I feel like I live and die by the quote, like, a clean bar is a good bar or a fast bar. If your bar isn't clean, you're not fast. You're nice and slow. You know, there's a lot of mix-ups. Espresso's dirty. You know what I mean? It's like sand. Like you do one wipe and then there's more. You're like, how did it multiply with one wipe? And so keeping a clean bar is just so imperative to the speed and the function of a good coffee shop, a good bar. And so
any pointers for baristas that are watching right now as far as like how do you maintain that cleanness in the midst of a rush?
Just take time. Like learn every drink you make is like a cleanup time. So budget for that in the time when you're making a drink and you've got a long line. Cleaning and being ahead of it doesn't make you slow. You know what I mean? Doing those wipes, making sure everything's nice and clean and ready for the next drink is like all part of making the coffee. It's not like two different things.
It's a part of the routine.
Exactly. It's a part of the routine. And a lot of times people think like, oh, I'm making this drink and then there's a cleanup time. And it's like, no, it's interweaved. Like those are locked in together. And so definitely recommend getting into the practice of that. If you're a new barista and there's someone better than you, watch what they do. You know, if they have a cleaner bar, really watch their flow. Like, even if you have to walk up and say, like, hey, you know, do you mind if I just, like, watch for a couple minutes? Like, do that, you know?
100%.
Learn that flow. Really watch, you know what I mean? A lot of the time, I would always say to a lot of the baristas that I train, like, there are lots of parts of an espresso machine that you can have hands off for. You know what I mean? Like if your grinder holds your portafilter, that's perfect time for you to wipe while that thing is pouring in, you know?
Or while the shot is pouring.
While the shot is pulling, exactly. While you're steaming milk, it takes one hand, you know what I mean? And so start wiping, check your temperature, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'd say definitely a clean bar is a fast bar. And Yeah.
And if there's time to lean, there's time to clean.
Exactly.
I think Gordon Ramsay said it once, and I was like, fuck, that actually sticks. I was like, so every time I'm like pulling a shot and I have that, whatever, 25 to 32 second range, I'm looking at my bar, I'm wiping. And I do think it is a big pet peeve, especially when you're a customer and you walk into a coffee shop and you get a little peek behind the bar. And you're like, ooh, like things look pretty wild back there. And like as baristas, I think we see it a little bit more. Where it's like, I question the quality of their coffee instantly.
100%.
If I'm like, if there's no one back there that's taking the initiative to like clean, then what is their coffee going to be like? Type
exactly,
of thing.
For sure.
It's a small little thing.
Yeah. What would you say your pet peeves are as a barista?
This is a small one, and it's nothing against anybody, but whenever a customer comes up and I ask, hey, how you doing? And they instantly get into their order. It's like, hey, how you doing? I'll get like, a double shot espresso, whatever. And it's just like they instantly just ignore the fact that you're trying to start some sort of level of conversation with them. And nothing against people. Some people are just, trying to get it and go type of thing. But I'm trying to form a relational conversation type of thing and then get into the order as it happens type of thing. And it's a kind of a pet peeve. It's nothing that's going to like make me lose sleep overnight. But that's a big thing is that when you're going to a coffee shop, whether it's Knockbox or anywhere, and your barista or your person on register asks you how you're doing, engage just a little bit. Sometimes those little conversations make the world of a change, 100%. So I guess it's time to get into some Instagram questions. Ooh. Some of them you'll answer and some of them I'll answer. So we had you guys ask a bunch of questions. We put up a little question box on Instagram and you guys went wild with it. I guess the first one would be dream location to open up a whole shop. This question was asked a lot, whether we were planning on opening up a cafe or where we would want to open up a cafe. And I definitely think it's a big question because we don't know what type of opportunities or what type of doors might open in the next couple of years. I think that this side of Fresno, northern side of Fresno, kind of over by Willow and Copper type of area, this side of town is under a lot of construction and a lot of new businesses are coming out this way. I think that would be dream location. Plus you get the nice view of the mountains for now, at least. And it has a nice walkability over here. I just think a coffee shop in a walkable part of town is a beautiful spot. But obviously dream spot would be like in the hillsides of Italy, but that might be for a later thing.
No, we could do it. We could swing it.
Yeah, 100%. This question's for you. If you had to have one coffee drink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Okay, I'm really big into cappuccinos, like any sort of small form of coffee, any sort of traditional size, that sort of stuff. I just love it. So every like fall and winter, I'll make like a cardamom clove syrup.
Shoot.
So good.
Are you bringing it out this fall and winter for Knockbox, maybe?
I don't know. I hope so. But it's definitely one of those flavors that's just so beautiful. I'm not big on a pumpkin spice, so it's one of those nice like spice, herbal flavors that really like pops, especially with espresso. And I'll do that with oat milk. Oh, it's so good. Pour a little art in the morning. It just gets your day off right. So I could drink that for the rest of my life. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, cappuccinos are a good like little thing to kind of test whether a coffee shop's good or not. And that and cortados for sure. Because the coffee is speaking more.
100%.
And a lot of the other drinks get covered up with sugar, so you don't really know.
Yeah, and you could tell a lot with the skill of like a barista or the shop. Because you know what I mean? Like that shop really does stand out and that milk has to be right. And so it's one of those
100%
really cool little testers. But yeah.
All right, let's rapid fire some. What is the future? What do you want the future of Knockbox to look like? Storefront vibe, etc. Future Knockbox, I think for right now, I'm just appreciating where it's come. There's a lot of times I get too far off into the future looking at, possible things. Being the boss man, you're constantly looking at the bigger plans. But I think for right now, just kind of taking it one step at a time, enjoying the amount of customers we've been getting in here and just loving the process. Doors are opening. We're planning on going 7 days a week at some point and having a little small storefront. So be on the lookout for that. This one's for you. How does it feel to be super jacked and muscular?
Well, it's a real burden. Thank you, Muscle Milk. Yeah, it's a gift and a curse. Really, stopping cars with my bare hands and lifting them up.
I guess this could be a question for you as well. Why Knockbox?
Why Knockbox?
I guess not in the name sense, like just why in general. Like, why are you working for Knockbox?
Yeah. Okay. So again, like I think this comes back to sort of like working that first couple coffee shop jobs was learning the flow, learning all that, learning how to be like a good barista, a quick barista, learn how to manage, learn how to lead, learn how to train, all that was like so exciting and cool. But at the same time, like you can't get like necessarily when that community shuts down there, or you start to feel it like affect your mental health if it's too quick, if it's too much, like it was just too hard. And so I think like moving forward and then eventually meeting you and then sort of like having that unspoken communication when we were on bar was like most of the time we didn't even have to talk, you know, when we'd work together. And so that was like, oh shoot, like that's really cool. And I want to stick with that because, you know what I mean? Like
it just makes work a little bit easier.
A little bit easier.
When you have somebody that gets things done before you even have to ask them.
Exactly.
And they're also competitive and pushing you to be better type of thing.
And I love being at the start of things. And to me, like when I came to one of the first Knockbox events and I had that first, like I think it was the rosemary vanilla. By the way, if you haven't tried that flavor, it's one of the best.
It's a sleeper.
So it's amazing. Sure. Yeah. I tried that and I literally didn't have words. I don't even think I was, I was like, what am I drinking right now? And it sort of put things into perspective of like, oh my gosh, like this is something like I really want to be a part of. And this is something new and exciting. And then seeing the following, like the support of the customers has been like so touching and cool to see. And the growth there has been like absolutely insane. Yeah. So getting to see that, feel that love, and then sort of have that passion for coffee come back after a while was really, really impactful and cool. And I was like, I got to chase that for a while.
Yeah, we're riding the wave now.
We are, yeah, exactly.
The only goal is to not fall off and drown, right?
Exactly.
We're riding it into the golden sands of the beach. Last question.
Yeah.
Best entry-level espresso machine to mess around with, $800 to $1,500 range. I think if you're looking for a really good entry-level machine that doesn't have a whole lot of mechanics and you can learn it pretty easily, Breville makes a lot of good machines. Yeah. Obviously, as you get along the lines, you're going to hit kind of a plateau moment with the Brevilles. You can only do so much. You only have so much manual ability. Right. A lot of the parts are automatic, but a lot of it is manual.
Right.
If you're up into the $1,500 range, the Rocket Apartmento is a beautiful machine to have. Obviously, that price range is just for the machine itself. You're going to have to buy a separate grinder. And the hobby's expensive, but start off with something small like a Breville or even a Gaja, and kind of working your way up. You're eventually going to hit plateaus with those lower level machines. And if you're someone that wants to do more, learn more, you're going to start to creep up the scale and price. But Rocket Apartmento for a little low budget, high budget machine is perfect way to go. And I have one last question for you to kind of kill this thing. Okay. Deep and existential as well. Yeah. In what ways can you and are you manifesting your future?
Oof, that's a really good question. I think it can be answered by just believing in yourself, believing in your self-worth. Yeah. Tying your self-worth to whatever form you need to sort of get that encouragement. Me, I do a lot of prayer and I talk to God a lot. And I always look to him to sort of like lead me and tell me. And it just gives me that drawing board to go back to in times where I'm sort of in that confusion of what am I doing and where am I going? And of course, keeping that goal always in mind.
So just holding your values together and knowing your self-worth and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
I think this is something that took me a very long time to figure out. Yeah. Whenever I heard the word manifestation, I always just thought woo-woo stuff. It's like very cheesy type of thing. Everyone's talking about manifesting. Right. I didn't really get the importance of it until one day I had realized that I had been practicing coffee for so long and I had been putting all my time into the practice of it. Right. And I started to realize like my future is manifesting on its own because of the time and practice I am putting into it. Right. And all of a sudden these doors started opening up, coffee shop job, Knockbox, support, and now more doors opening up and my future is kind of manifesting on its own now. And I realized I did have to pay a price for that. Manifesting and the word manifestation in general just comes at a price, but a lot of people don't know what that price is. The price is time and practice. And I think time and practice are the only currency that you can really use to pay for the result of manifestation. Whatever it is, whatever you want to accomplish, you have to invest time as a currency and practice as a currency. And from the result of those two things coming together, manifestation will happen as a result.
Right.
And like I said, it took me a long time to figure out. I think I was like 24 by the time that had happened.
Yeah.
A lot of frustrating times, and just a lot of wasted time had gone by, and where I didn't really put a lot of time and practice into things, and finally got that.
Right.
And because of that, doors are opening and future is unfolding right before my eyes.
Yeah.
So on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. Cheers. We'll see you guys next weekend.